It's time for Remodel Revolution. And now, an award-winning contractor with over 40 years experience. Here is Alex Guthrie.
Welcome to another episode of Remodel Revolution. We're here at the world headquarters of Remodel Revolution, deep in the heart of Texas. And we're so glad to be here with you today. I have my friend and co-host today, Miss Amber Teague. Hello, Miss Amber.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
Good. It's good to see you. Glad you could make it today. We have a very good friend of mine, a good old friend of mine. I mean, old is like we've been friends a long time. And her name is Allison Wood, and she is a principal in a company called Take Stock Inventory. And this is really significant because of the weather events that happened in Dallas this past week. And it's actually just great timing. It was not planned out. I didn't plan for a tornado, and I didn't call her afterwards. So anyway, we're going to have a long conversation with Allison about that, because this is very, very important for people. And I think maybe we all learned some lessons in the last week. Today, I want to talk about, we're going to title today's show Aftermath. And after a tornado hits a community, and I've been through a couple of them. One of them in 1994 in Lancaster, Texas, that pretty well wiped out the middle of town, almost like what happened this past Sunday in Dallas. And there were actually reports of about 3 tornadoes in North Texas. Now I'm doing this. I didn't look at news reports. This is what I was reading. So if I'm a little inaccurate here, pardon me. I'm normally a little inaccurate. And what I read is that we had about 3 tornadoes, and that one of them, the main one, traveled about 14 miles right through the middle of town. I think that's accurate. And that is significant. And it went through older, mature neighborhoods. It went through parts of town that have never had a tornado in them. And so we weren't totally prepared, but my gosh, are we lucky or what, ladies? We did not have a single casualty out of that. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, what we did have was a baby, I read, get born during the tornado. So, now that kid's going to be hard to handle coming in the world like that. So the one thing Amber and I really talked about and wanted to do this morning is we want to tell all of our friends and neighbors we're here for you, and our sympathies are with you for what we know you're going through and what you're about to go through. Rebuilding after a tornado is a really, or it doesn't matter if it's a tornado, a flood, any sort of natural disaster that takes your home away from you or does significant damage, is a really difficult process to go through, because no one's prepared for it ever. So we're going to spend some time today talking about some of the things that you can do. And when I started writing this, I went through kind of a phase of kind of a psychological phase as well. I actually looked up some things on the internet, and one of the things that stood out to me, Amber, was that people that go through these things, a lot of them experience PTSD, and it's almost, they compare it to the PTSD that people experience after war. And that is because you have the same type of things can happen. You lose your property, your life is totally disrupted. You can go into all sorts of depression, and all kinds of things can happen, and it does. And I've seen it firsthand, and I understand it. So I wanted to tell everybody, if you're having some problems like that, it's normal. So don't think that you're weak or whatever. Just understand that it's normal to go through that, because your life has just been turned upside down, particularly if you had significant and major damage. One of the things that I wanted to start out with today is some tips on how to some of the things that you can expect. And I know you're probably hearing some of this on the news, you're hearing it from other places, but I think that I want to reinforce it. I call them the rats. We'll call them salesmen. They're coming out of the woodwork and they're combing your neighborhood. And they're going to be pounding on you. I was helping out some people during a flood. This is 10, 15 years ago. And the neighborhood had flooded, and I was in there helping people clean their houses. And I heard this commotion in the front yard. And two of these people, these salespeople, had gotten in a fist fight in the front yard of these people because they were fighting over who got there first, you know. That's the kind of stuff that can happen. It gets really crazy. And so you want to make sure that you're organized to a certain extent, as much as you can be, understanding the conditions and the pressure that you're under. And here's a few tips. First of all, when someone comes knocking on your front door or approaches you in your yard and they want to talk to you about doing the repair work on your home, here's a few things that I want you to ask for. And these are kind of common things you should be asking anyway, anytime you're having work done on your property. One is you want to make sure that they have a local office. It's really important that you're not hiring people that are just kind of fly-by-nighters. They're coming in here. I guarantee you there's a long a long line of people driving over here from other states to get in on the action. And so you want to make sure that you have someone that's local so that they're not going to leave you high and dry. Do a little homework there.
And when we're talking about local, we don't mean someone who shows up in your yard. A lot of these companies who are licensed to do insurance work will be companies that have done it for years now, and they're not going to be the ones going door to door. They're going to be the ones that you call to come out. The door-to-door contractors that pull up in their truck are not always, like you're saying, you don't really realize that they're from out of state, or they're just from their own garage and slap a sign on the side of their truck and are starting to do this now.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And so do a little background check on them, make sure that they're the people that you can call in 5 years if you need them, or next year even after they're finished. Make sure that they have insurance. And when you ask them for an insurance certificate, you need to see an original copy, not one that has, oh, well, I'll have my secretary make a copy of one and send it to you. Don't do that. The insurance company, their insurance company, will send you an original copy and insist on that. Also, in order for me to do business in Dallas County, I have to be licensed in Dallas County as a business, and I am. Make sure that whoever you hire is licensed to do business in Dallas County. Also, really, this is a big help for a lot of people. Check their Better Business Bureau rating. That will tell you a lot of things. If they have one, then they're a legitimate business. And also, if there's been any complaints, you can check and see if they've been resolved and what they were. And listen, when you're checking complaints on these things, and if you're Googling people and people are saying bad things about them, it's important, but do a little investigating, because there's a lot of times in my business when people get mad at us and they do things they shouldn't do, and they will say things. Anybody that spends any time on Facebook or Twitter understands that people get ugly and say things that could be disproven. Also, make sure that they have referrals. You should take 2 or 3 referrals. If it's a recommendation from a family member or a neighbor, I get that, and maybe that's good enough. Maybe you saw them working on their house and you know you can trust them, and that's fine. If you call me, that's at 469-446-8508. Don't take the referrals. No, not necessary is what I mean. Check and see if they have a website. And what I'm trying to get you to do, I want you to make sure that they're a real business, that they're not just some fly-by-nighter, because everybody, the problem in Texas is that anybody can call themselves a contractor. It doesn't matter. There's no requirements. And so you've got to be careful that I run into this all the time. I go out and I look at projects. People call me to look at a project, and they want me to look at the project that the previous guy screwed up. Mm-hmm. It happens. It happens. And sometimes I think most of the time it's not good intentions. When I get there, there's been some sort of an issue, maybe between the homeowner, maybe it was in this person's business and their personal life, who knows. but it happens. And so you want to check and see if they're, do they have a website? Do they have pictures? Do they have referrals? Just kind of use, and this next point is trust your instincts.
Yep.
And that's huge. That's huge. Some people that I deal with, it's all about who's the cheapest price.
Yep. I've had family members, my family's been in construction, and I've had family members that are very good at what they do and have left job sites because the contractor did not know what they were doing. And he didn't want his name hooked to this job when everything hits the fan.
Right.
And so he said, you know what, I'm just better at just walking off because the contractor is not experienced enough in this
Well,
field.
and that's their experience that's benefiting them as a business owner, but also the homeowner. And so,
If you're the homeowner wondering why are these other guys leaving the job?
Well,
Why
yeah.
is it a new guy every time it's your
question these
contractor?
question these things as the homeowner. If you're dealing with someone you don't know, it's not a bad idea to take more than one quote and make sure you're organized in scope. Now, I run into this under the best of circumstances all the time. I get to a job site or a potential client, and they tell me that they're talking to 2 or 3 other people. That's fine. And
That's preferred.
I'm fine
want
with
them
it.
to
I'm
do that,
fine
yeah.
with it. I'm very comfortable in what I'm presenting to you as a price and a scope. However, if you're talking to 2 or 3 other people, make sure that you have yourself organized. You don't just say, I want to do this, I want to do that. This is, and I told the last guy I wanted to do this, and he suggested I do that, and put it on paper. Have the entire scope of the project written down. Now I went to one recently, and she handed me 6 sheets of paper. She had gone to every room and detailed out everything she wanted done. It was fantastic. And then, because when I walk out there and you tell me that you're talking to 2 or 3 other people and you don't have yourself organized, a plan, a scope of work, whatever it is, I'm probably going to tell you I'm not interested, because I'm just wasting my time until you have that information to me. So this benefits you, and this will keep you out of trouble and keep other people kind of honest. Also, very important, not everybody is your friend. A good salesman will always make you think he's your friend. But not everybody is your enemy either. And so keep a healthy dose of skepticism and caution, and asking a lot of questions.
And just because they are your friend doesn't mean that doing business with them is the best idea either.
Yeah, exactly. So here is a couple of reality checks. This is from when you're having to go through. This is all about going back and kind of rebuilding your life after this tornado has caused so much trouble for you. If they tell you they get extra money and do extra work for the insurance dollars, run them off. Okay? The insurance company knows exactly what things cost. They have a very good program they've spent millions of dollars developing over the years. And I can tell you from my considerable experience with insurance companies, there's no extras in there. And so you cannot trust somebody. And I believe we passed a law this year in the state of Texas for roofers, particularly for roofers, they took away that part of their business. They cannot come and tell you your deductibles included and all this other stuff. You need to have a relationship with your insurance company and a separate relationship with your contractor.
Yes, I've heard of stories from showrooms where homeowners would come in and homeowners would pick out product and then come back in and say, can you put the list price on there or add additional price on there? And that's the quote they would give to the insurance company. And I've had showrooms say no.
No,
We're not going to do that. That's insurance fraud.
It's called fraud.
Yeah. So that's a homeowner who doesn't know how the industry works. And if you get a licensed contractor that is used to dealing with insurance companies and how they go about doing that, that's what you're wanting to find, is a contractor who is used to working with insurance companies and knows the ins and outs.
Well, and think about this. If they're willing to defraud the insurance company, you think they're not willing to defraud you?
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think really kind of turn that around and think about that. And I will tell you this, I've had to tell more than one homeowner over the last 40 years, no, I will not defraud the insurance company on your behalf. That ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
So find someone else.
Well, and that comes into play with your own insurance as a contractor.
Well, and your
because if someone,
integrity.
your integrity, if you are then sued and it's a contractor that has no insurance, no background, they just disappear.
That's exactly right. So think about things like that. The people that you're doing business with need to be at least as honest as you are. Don't hire somebody that tells you they're a crook. Hey, I'm a crook. Yeah, but I'll give you a great deal. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what you should do before you make these big decisions, making sure that you're in the right frame of mind and you're kind of organized, and because you're going to be making some super big decisions to get your home repaired. We'll be right back. Don't go away. So after you've gone through a major catastrophe, and we're talking about natural disaster, as has recently happened in Dallas, there are lots of decisions that you have to make. There's a lot of pressure on you as the homeowner. Your world has been totally upended. Everything. It affects everything. It affects your family. It affects your business. It affects your job, your schedule. Everything has been affected. And so this is a very unsettling thing. And before you make really big decisions, I really want you to make sure that you have addressed these three things that I came up with. There's probably plenty more. I'm sure Amber has some better advice too. But get yourself and your family settled in some place that you can call home. I know it's a temporary home, but make sure that everybody's as settled in as you can get, so you have a safe place to sleep at night. Everybody can kind of get as much into their routine as possible, and you can kind of carry on with your life. So that's my first tip there. Also, you might need to be making some big decisions, and make sure your mind is right. Because if you've gone through, you wake up in the middle of the night and your house is blown away, and some of the destruction is just tremendous. You're not right. None of us are, right?
Yeah, it takes a while because what we are not seeing, and they're definitely telling people not to drive by and drive into these neighborhoods because it's big tourist attraction right now, seeing these very large homes being blown to smithereens. And the fear then for homeowners is what happens at night, because there is looting. There's always looting after this, and they're trying really hard for that not to happen. And so for a man of the house or the head of the household, that's a very, very tough time. I know my family went through it in December of 4 years ago with the tornado in Rowlett, and it's very stressful. And it is, I'm glad you said that earlier about the trauma of it, because you would think if you're not in it, it's like it's just things that go away. But if you were in your home and hearing it, any storm after that is very traumatic. So keeping that in mind for everyone, and not being a spectator, tourist attraction, driving through these places, because they're all just trying to survive.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the most dramatic things that ever happened to me as an adult was when a tornado blew through our community, and I watched it. I watched it from my front porch. I could watch it. I could hear it. You'll never lose that. You'll never lose that. You'll never lose that sound, that feeling, everything that happens. But the real traumatic thing for me, the next day, I walked through the debris zone.
Yeah.
And it was really, really, really amazing. It'll never go away. Watching people sit by a pile of rubble that was their house in total shock, and the whole area. So this is a community issue. this affects everybody around. You know, you walk through the neighborhood, you don't even recognize it.
Yeah.
The trees are gone, the houses are gone. It's traumatic.
So we haven't heard that many stories from coming out of this so far. We've heard a few, but I can talk a little bit about what happened in Rowlett a few years ago, and we can talk about this too. Is the rise in storm shelters within homes? My family in particular helped people out of the rubble, and the only thing that survived was underneath the staircase. And people were crawling out underneath these staircases, and you didn't even see that there were people there. So I think what's important is people are building homes right after this. You have to kind of go through it to even think about it. But building homes much more structurally sound when you have those areas. There was a gentleman on the lake, lived on the lake, Lake Ray Hubbard, who had a safe room of concrete. Just happened to be the only one on the street, and I believe there was 9 or 10 people that he put in his safe room, and his house was completely blown away.
Wow.
Except for the safe room. So it makes us think about these things while we're building now. Unfortunately, it makes us think if your neighborhood is in it, but we're getting so many storms now where just these little fingers pop down. I think they're saying up to 9. They're investigating 9 tornadoes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I thought it was
just
3.
these little. It was just the little. It'll be one storm, and you never know which neighborhood, which street is going to be hit. So until you're going through it, you don't realize that you need this protection. But it could be any one of us.
Let's talk a few minutes about some of the priorities that I want you to think about when you start this. Now, some of these are things that I tell homeowners to do anyway. If you're having a remodel or renovation done to your home, particularly if you're going to live in it, there's a few things, and we're going to segue into Allison with this because it really falls in line with what she does. One of the things that I always tell my clients to do, if you're in, I want to back up real quick and say that in these neighborhoods that have had this tornado go through them, there are a ton of strange people in your neighborhood. You're going to look up and see all these people you've never seen before. There's workmen, there's insurance people, there's people that are just gawkers that want to come through and see it. There's all kinds of stuff. So you've got to be really, really diligent. Pay attention. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of who's there. When you've got a bunch of construction going on in a neighborhood, a whole bunch of houses being remodeled or rebuilt, there are tons of crews there, and everybody looks the same. They're just another workman. You don't know who they are. So be aware. So here, number 1, store valuables in a safe place. And I tell my clients, take a closet. We'll take the doorknob off of it. We'll change it out with a deadbolt, and you can put all your stuff in there that it needs to be secure. And then you have the only key. I don't have a key. I don't want a key. I just want you to have the key. But little things that are laying around your house or you're used to seeing need to be put in that closet so that it's not even necessarily somebody's going to steal them, but they could get misplaced. They could get moved out of the way and somebody forgot where they put it, whatever. It's not always a bad person. If you're doing a big project on your house, it's a real good idea to put a temporary fence along the street just to keep, prying eyes out of there. Just don't give them any inspiration to want to come in onto the property. Also, they're going to, we just talked about the strangers. When you're rebuilding your house, when you're repairing it, this is a paramount thing. You need to upgrade and fortify your home because this is probably not going to be the last time this happens. It happens every few years. You never know where this is going to take place. So we've been doing some shows lately called Fortified Homes. And this is where you can go in after a tornado in particular, and you can reinforce the house. And so go to fortifiedhomes.com and check that out. There's some great tips on what you can do when you're rebuilding your house, but take the time to do this. Instead of worrying about upgrading your bathroom, spend the money upgrading your home. Here's, thank you, Ziggy. Ziggy put the Fortified Home site up. Go here and check this out. They've done tons of studies and they put together total programs for, first of all, they've done a lot of studies so they understand what the damage is to a home. And then they rebuilt the homes, and they did it in such a way that they can withstand up to usually about what we got. I mean, they're not going to be completely, it's going to rip shingles off and do some damage, but we're trying to keep the building itself from blowing away. And so that's what a lot of this will do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to introduce my very good friend, Allison Wood, and we're going to talk about take stock inventory. And this is the perfect to have Allison here. We'll be right back. Don't go away. One of the most important things that you can do as a homeowner and a business owner, quite frankly, is have an inventory of everything you've got in your house. I mean, it's really, really important. And especially now today, it's a little gloomy. I'm sorry about that, but it's just, I think, necessary that we have this discussion this week. One of the best ways to do it that I've ever seen is what my friend Allison Wood does with Take Stock Inventory, and she's going to tell us all about it. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm great. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, albeit under the circumstances.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did this before we knew there was going to be a tornado.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So what happens, of course, is that all of a sudden you're dealing with an insurance company, right? You've had this disaster. It could be a fire. It could be a tornado. It could be whatever. And you've got to come up with some sort of a list of things that you've lost.
Yeah.
Right? Now, who's got that list laying around?
Well, and sadly, like you said earlier, too, the emotional toil that is going on. So people really, truly, they're trying to think about tomorrow, where are the keys, where are the kids, where's the dog, where's the cat? They're just traumatized. So truly, the reality is people don't know what they have. And I call it insurance for your insurance. We pay for insurance. We pay for an alarm system, but then we don't really know once somebody breaks in or there's a disaster, what's stolen or gone. So we're paying for the insurance, but then we can't recall it. And they say that the average person forgets, they only recall 60 to 80%.
Wow.
So if you close your eyes and try to remember what's in that kitchen drawer, which, believe it or not, the average kitchen drawer costs $240. Just one kitchen drawer. If you think about your utensils and your knife,
that's a pair of shoes. That's not even a pair of tennis shoes.
it is pretty
I guess
amazing.
we don't think about our everyday objects as being valuable, but then going back and having to rebuy, like you're saying, our pots and pans and everything is actually a lot of money.
Yeah. Hairbrush. You go into a bathroom drawer and you open it up. You don't think about your bathroom drawer, but your hairbrush, your straightener, your whatever, your
Oh,
makeup.
I think about how
Well, it
expensive
adds
my
up.
makeup is.
It's crazy. Your makeup drawer could be
I'm just trying to
$1,000.
remember what they are. I forgot all about
Well,
those things.
you don't need it. We women might.
So one of the best, I mean, I guess you could sit down and you could try and discipline yourself to go through and write it all down and take pictures of it. Or
Well, and I
You can
honestly,
call-
or you can call Take Stock Inventory, which really is, I mean, that's the reality is a lot of people don't know that there's a service out there that will do it for you. And they have good intentions. I'm going to do it, but they don't do it until there's a disaster, death, divorce, and they're forced to do it. But yes, we do. We go in and I tell people, go and do it. Every single person needs an inventory, regardless if you're in an apartment or you're in a 30,000 square foot house. It doesn't matter. Every single person needs an inventory, or a car's broken into.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody can do it. Do they do it? Sadly, not until it's too late. So I always say do it, but they're going to end up, they usually call us
Well-
after they're about 10% in, and they just don't, people
This is-
sadly don't finish
This
it.
is what I was talking about earlier with the safe closet. You don't realize what you've got. You don't think about it. You go out there and you're at the first Monday in Canton, Texas.
I love that place.
And you go and you buy something and you put it on the mantle.
Right.
Yeah. You don't think about that. You kind of forget it. It's just kind of, oh, yeah.
You probably
yeah.
lied to your husband about how much it cost
Oh.
anyways.
Quiet.
So I wanted to ask something too, because this just came to my mind. Would you also be able to go into a storage unit to do that as well?
Absolutely. And we
Yeah.
do them all the time.
Because lots of businesses we see from this tornado, those storage units are made out of just
Right.
stainless steel roof and that's it. So those get blown to bits very, very easily. And we forget what's in our storage units.
One of my favorite things to do are storage units, believe it or not. And I
Really?
still get down and dirty and love to do them myself. Yes, because including myself, I just got a new storage unit, so I need to do it. But we take the box out. Like, for example, a box, we would take it out.
You just got
photograph-
a new storage. How many do you have? Or what are you
So,
collecting?
the way that we do change the subject.
Lots of stuff.
Cube Smart. It's a really good price. Really good price. But the way that we do it is really neat. We take out a box. We photograph every single thing that's in the box. We put it back in the box with a number on it. And then we have a client portal or our software that we've created. And the client can go in and actually look at everything that's in that box by the number. So they don't have to take everything down, go through it, and then they can organize it within the software. So you can see that box number 1 might have a piece of, I don't know, Christmas, something for Christmas in there, and so does box number 22. So it'll help you organize it.
And
Plus,
so
prove what you have.
let's start with the process. Okay, what is the process? So they call you. What do you tell them to?
Call us at Take Stock Inventory, and first thing that we do is we run through what exactly their needs are. So depending on what happened or what if they're being proactive or if it's a disaster recovery, we try to figure out what their scope of services are. If it's
So like if you had a disaster recovery, then I assume what you're saying is you're going to go through and inventory the things for the insurance company to value after something's happened.
We have 2 different services. After the Rowlett tornadoes, we did that. We came in and we actually individually photographed every single item that we saw. Now, sadly, you're not going to see a lot because truthfully, 3 walls were blown off at the second
Right.
floor and everything was in the pool. So you really truly can't see what was there, but we could show them what we saw at that time, time-stamped, and this is what we saw. Then they have to piece it together, sadly. So they'll have to go through Facebook photos. They'll have to go through any holiday photos that they have, anything that they can think of that their friends and
can
family.
identify these objects.
And truly, like, if you look at a shelf, or like I said, the example of the kitchen drawers, but that, those are inside, you can't see them. The 360 service we have is a virtual inventory. It's basically, have you seen the 360s when you go to look at a hotel or a restaurant? It's the same, similar concept, except that we built a software to it that allows you to stop and circle that item. We call it lasso because we're Texans. So you would circle that painting on the wall, and you would then an image container pops up and allows you to put in all information you have, upload
So
documents.
does the homeowner, do you want the homeowner or the property owner to put that information in there? I mean,
Yes.
to keep things private, I assume.
Well, that, and then also, we really don't know the details.
You don't know the
So
details.
I don't know if you want to give this to your wife, to me, to your friend, to, so you can use it for estate
Your wife's
purposes.
lawyer.
As well. So you can use it for estate organizational purposes as well as identification purposes.
I'm thinking just for a closet as well. As you add items to your closet, then you add this is there, this is there. So you keep adding to it
Right.
over time.
Ideally, once a year. Oftentimes, our clients will have us come out once a year to just do an updated, but they can also do it themselves on the system. So once we do the actual inventory for them, whatever they need, if it's just a collection of dolls, or if it's their entire house with the inside of their cabinets and their garage and their attic, once that is done, then they have everything on a client portal, and they can update, add pictures. But we timestamp it on the day that we were there, so it can be used for, it's done by a third party and timestamped at this date. So less fraud, I hate to say it, but that's kind of the.
So what happens then with all this information? Who gets it, and do you keep it? Do you store it for people, or do you do?
We do. We'll store it for them for a nominal fee, an annual basis, or once we're finished, they can actually download everything and print it out themselves, and then we can erase it. I hate deleting stuff off the client portal, but
Yeah.
we've done it.
Yeah.
So when people say, we just don't want our stuff up there, we want to
Yeah.
keep it in our own safe, then we will. Now, the 360 is a panoramic photo, so that's a little more difficult because it's a pano. You can't interact with the service on the 360 system because you need to be online and being able to see what's if you, in construction for building, if you have a tornado or something comes through, you want to be able to circle that area. So not just the item, you want to utilize it for a tool to show the damages.
So on your website, there's a how it works little clicker thingy Ziggy's about to hit for us. And it shows how somewhere in there, it shows how you go in. There it is right there. And you go in and inventory this and put all this information in. I think that is really phenomenal.
Wait, see, that's the 360 camera that you're
Uh-huh.
seeing right now. That's actually the 360 camera, the video, but you stopped it and you put a circle around the thing that mattered.
I
So
get it.
that's what mattered to that person.
And so I guess you can just get as detailed as you want to get, or not. I mean, it could be just like maybe you went out and you bought a big, beautiful painting of Allison Wood
That would be scary.
posing, and you wanted to put that in your.
That's a really terrifying thought.
No, I just love it. I love it. I think it's amazing. And so anyway, you could do an individual. You don't have to do the whole house. Is my point.
No,
you
you don't.
You don't have to do everything.
And believe it or not, a lot of people do it and then they never look at it. But you know what? I get it. They just want to have peace of mind knowing if there's something that happens, they've got it.
I went, a family member of mine, my brother-in-law's brother passed, and he didn't have a will, and he didn't have a wife, and he didn't have kids, and, he was just a single guy, and nobody knew what the guy had. And so it went into probate, thank you, into the state, which is a nightmare. I mean, this isn't something that happens quickly because we're dealing with the state.
But this could be used to document everything and put them in their own folders of who gets what.
Absolutely.
And be very, very organized on that.
And the software that we've created, which makes us a little bit unique, which we really, we want to be different and better, and we're always striving to improve it. The software we've created, you could just click a button, and it says there's spaces, so you can fill it in, assigned to. You can put notes there, estate planning notes, and you can actually add a video. So if you say, I want
So
this
you could
painting to go to
use
Alex
this
Guthrie.
at the reading of the will.
Honestly, you'd have to
probably-
do that with your estate planning. We have had clients that do that with their
That's
estate attorneys.
amazing. That's amazing.
Even for divorces, on considering what's community property versus either or.
We do. We actually, sadly, that's probably
Do
our
you
largest.
have more men or women calling?
Now, that's confidential.
What I meant was husbands or wives.
Yeah, I know nothing. But we do a lot of divorce cases, and because somebody is moving out, and then whoever's there, you don't remember typically what is there, and then it just
Well,
shows.
you have to. It's like when you're in before the judge and you're going, "No, she threw that at me,
Right.
and it shattered all over the wall. I'm not paying her for that."
Right.
Okay, we're gonna. If you're folks, if you're gonna remodel your house, if you've had any kind of if you have this storm damage, or you just need a contractor for a room addition or a remodel or whatever it is that you need, give us a call, Alex Guthrie Construction, 469-446-8508, or contact me, info@alexguthrie.net. You can always reach me also through the website for this show, Remodel Revolution. It's supposed to work at Remodel Rev. It's not working. I'm calling somebody about that again today. So go ahead and go to the remodelrevolutionradio.com and contact me there, or on Facebook, however you want to do it. Give us a call. We've got crews standing by if you need us for this storm or anything else. Okay, so back to Allison and our discussion about Take Stock Inventory LLC. Tell me about the business, the commercial part of it.
The commercial part, meaning our commercial, the actual
So,
business.
because you do residence.
Oh, we do, yes,
You do
I'm
residential
sorry.
and commercial.
We do. So commercial properties we've done, we actually went to New Orleans and did St. Stephen's Church Cathedral.
Cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean,
Cool.
New Orleans is just, the history there.
Well,
is just
and
incredible.
some place like that seems to me to be the perfect place for this type, because they're always having problems with hurricanes and stuff.
And that is why they did it, actually.
really?
Is they needed to they just needed to know what they had. And we actually did the entire cathedral, the church, but then we also did the rectory and where they lived. So it was really a neat, you get intimate. You really get to see the inside of people's lives, and it's really a neat, beautiful thing. So
that's
commercially, we've done a few schools here in town. Speaking of schools, I mean, we see what just happened with TJ.
My high school and my
Yes.
junior high, Carrie and TJ.
They're closed until the end of the year, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll rebuild.
Yeah.
2,800 kids are displaced. But
Well.
so we help schools also.
They displaced me in the 1960s and 70s. So I'm kidding. I loved them. And we just had our 45th class reunion last Saturday. Yes.
Did you?
Absolutely.
Were you there? Was it
Not,
at
no, it
TJ?
wasn't at TJ. No, it was somewhere else. But believe me, my Facebook thing was blowing up with people. Oh, it still is. That were very sad.
Oh.
Because TJ has a real active group of
Alumni.
alumni. Thank you. Boy, my words are like
You're traumatized.
I'm traumatized.
That is so sad.
I've got
though.
you two here, and I can't think. And so, yeah, it was really sad. So that's part of it. That's part of life, right? Occasionally, the tornado misses you, and sometimes it hits. So that's how it goes. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh,
it's been
thank
so
you
much fun.
too.
You're
Absolutely.
amazing. You're
Love
amazing.
it. Love
and you
being
know,
here.
when I met you, you were just starting this business, and you've done so well.
Thank you.
You're an amazing
It's
person.
growing. It's growing,
Yeah,
and we love
yeah.
to help people. So
So
thank
Amber
you
and
for
I
having
were
us.
going to follow up on something we started I don't know, a week or two ago. I don't remember when, but we were talking about trends, the 2020 trends, which I hate because they're just like the 2018 trends and 2019. They're not trends. Okay.
Well, maybe we'll try
So
to
make me
change
feel
them.
better about it.
Let's try to change it for the good. So we've talked a little bit about, of course, they're listing shiplap and everything still, but I feel like the article that we had referenced before was up in New York. So I feel like we were on the brink of this trend, or at the beginning of this trend, because
Because it started in Waco.
Miss Joanna Gaines is from
Yes,
here, so
she's amazing.
we're kind of already done with that, and it's hitting New York now. But we're trying to find
like a
other ways.
flood.
So what are some ways we can get out of the white kitchen, the white shiplap, everything like that? Something that I have seen right now, High Point Market is going on in the Carolinas right now, and a big trend that I'm seeing, and of course with Dallas Market here, we have a market center, is brass is still on trend, which we've talked about. Brass and black. We've talked
Bright
about
brass or real brass?
like a unlacquered brass, brass without a coating, so it tends to
real brass.
tarnish and look older and all of that. So that is still on the trend, but combining it with black. So we've talked about matte black and brass individually. Now it's combining the two together in, it doesn't have to be everywhere. It doesn't have to be everywhere that you would normally put brass. But combining the look for the two, having a more polished look and a more design-driven look when you're combining the two
Now,
to
when
where
did black become? I mean, I've walked in houses recently and looked where they tried to improvise. Let's take these 30-year-old oak cabinets and paint them black. And you look at them, you go, no.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Sometimes
but
the
black is
painting-
a hard color. You know?
Yes, yeah.
And first of all, with black, it's hard to make it look right. It almost has to be done in a shop because black gets splotchy looking. It gets
Yes.
dull looking. Let me tell you something about black. It's very forgiving, except for when it's not. And it's not forgiving if the light hits it or if there's drips in it or if the,
yes.
I mean, it's
we're
hard.
always talking about professionally done products.
Okay,
And
all
so
right,
it's
all right. Thank you so
so when
much.
we're talking about some people, like you're saying, you've seen it, you've walked in, have painted their own cabinets and it's become splotchy.
Awful. That looked terrible.
I wouldn't recommend painting yourself with a black finish. And of course, when we're talking about a black, when it's paint, we're talking about a matte finish, not a high gloss, to where it will,
Okay. All right.
where you see it is a high gloss, and then you see all this like glossy black, and it's not working very well. But the dark, moody fixtures and environment is on the rise. I keep trying to push it, and you do too, because we're tired of white everything.
You're talking about like kitchen appliances, like
Kitchen appliances, the matte black,
dishwashers and things like that.
That has been a trend for a few years, and I think the surrounding materials and textures are following it. Cabinetry being a darker, whether it's like a slate gray or a dark blue.
I don't mind those colors.
Yeah.
I like the color. I like it that we're using colors now, but they're using the same three stupid colors. I mean, it's like, come on, people. Everything can't be black, white, or gray.
That's why the designers who do something different get the awards. So
Allison's over here going, Alex, shut up, Alex. You're gonna make them all mad at you. I don't care.
There's always you can always be the sheep and follow the herd and do the same thing all the time, but there's always going to be the kitchen you walk into and say, wow, this is different in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you're dealing with a darker, like we're talking about a moody color palette and textures, we also want to talk about lighting. As a homeowner, always having the 3-point lighting, 3 different avenues of lighting that will converge to
And
have
what are
a
those?
nice
What are
lit
those
space.
3 points?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot now. So you're going to have, like, for instance, just layman's terms, where your lamps are at eye level. You're going to have your light fixtures coming down, and then also your canned lights as well. So you get these 3 points of lighting to where when you combine them, it's a well-lit space. So when we're dealing with a darker room, you need to add more lighting other than just your natural light that you
Well,
would
the
have.
cool thing about lighting, while we're on the subject, is that with the LED lighting that we're using now, we can put it virtually anywhere.
Yes.
And so the
And
under
you have-
cabinet, remember, now you don't remember this, but you do.
Ouch. That's okay.
We used to put big fluorescent lights under the cabinets. Is
I've
that-
seen
I was
those.
going to say,
Yeah.
I
We
see them all
still
the
see
time.
it.
That's what
documenting homes.
they're awful. They're awful. And so now we don't have to do that. Now we can put a little bitty fluorescent strip LED strip, excuse me, and we can make that really wonderful.
And what we have to think about, which everyone knows they hate seeing it, but they don't think about it at the time, is the color temperature. The 2700 is going to be very warm.
Yeah, I was all good with lighting when it was just like
When it was just
a
one bulb.
dimmer,
The dimmer,
you
yeah.
know.
And the LEDs, you have to figure out which ones
Now
are
we're
easily
calling
dimmed.
temperature. It's
Yeah.
this is like Chinese arithmetic.
Dimmer
to
is
me.
not the same as temperature, sir.
No, I know. I get that.
So the 2700 is when you see the very yellow light, and the 4000 is a very blue light. So you're wanting that in between. The 3000 Kelvin is very attractive to the eye. And when you're dealing with different colors in your kitchen or in your home, that matters too, because if you're having a all blue and gray and white kitchen and then you put yellow light shining
It
onto
changes the
it
color,
changes
and
it, yeah.
particularly if you're using these sort of matte colors. If you're using a real high gloss color, or using a lot of white. If you're trying to combine colors, white, blue, black, whatever it is, and your light isn't clear, if it alters that color. And that has been a problem for years, but I think we've overcome it. And thank you so much for those tips.
Thank you.
That's incredible. Trends. These are trends that Alex doesn't particularly care for. But I'm glad someone's telling us what to do. That's what I'm glad to know. So thank you, Allison Wood.
Thank you.
With Take Stock Inventory
fun.
for spending the morning with us. It's been so much fun.
Appreciate it.
You bet you. And thank you, Miss Amber Teague.
Thank you.
For being here. You were awesome today. Thank you, Mr. Ziggy Becker, the engineer of the century. He's getting an award. It's in the mail, but I think it got sent to China. And somebody there, I don't know who it was. And thank you, On Air Media, because you guys are wonderful. We really love working with you. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And God bless Dallas and all of our people that are going through this storm rebuilding. We're here for you. Call us and let us know if you need anything, any information. You need names of electricians or vendors, make sure and give me a call or email me. I'll be happy to share the people I use with you. And until next week, this is Alex Guthrie, and we're finished for the day. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel.
You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle